All right, let's get into a story that's simple, but wow, is it powerful. It's all about how something that feels like an absolute disaster today might actually be setting the stage for something incredible tomorrow. It's really a masterclass in the art of patience.
But before we dive in, let me ask you something. Just take a second and think about your own life. How many times has something happened that just felt like the world was ending, only for you to look back, months or years later and realize, wow, that was the best thing that could have happened? This story might just change how you see those moments from now on. So, our story kicks off in a tiny village where life is pretty straightforward. We've got this farmer. He's not rich, not famous, but he has this incredible, unshakable sense of peace about him. He lives with his wife and their son, who's a really hard worker, and they have this one prized possession, a beautiful, strong horse who was really more like a member of the family. Now, here's the thing about this farmer. No matter what happened, if the harvest was great or if it failed completely, he'd always say the same thing. Who knows what is good and what is bad? Only time will tell. Honestly, his neighbors thought he was a little strange, maybe even a bit of a fool. But this one simple idea, it's the key to this entire story. And then, one morning, disaster strikes. The son goes out to the stable, and it's empty. The gates open. Their horse, their most valuable friend and companion, is just gone, vanished. They look everywhere, but nothing. The son is just completely crushed. This wasn't just livestock, it was his friend. And the villagers? Oh, they're immediately on the gossip train, shaking their heads. What a fool, they're all saying. He should have sold that horse when he had the chance. What a terrible, terrible loss. They are so quick to pass judgment, only seeing what's right in front of them. But the farmer, he's steady as a rock. He puts his hand on his son's shoulder, who's just devastated. And he gently says this. He's trying to get him to see, just wait. There's a bigger story playing out that we can't see yet. He holds that calm space, even in his son's deepest pain. And then, about a week later, and you can't make this stuff up, the son hears hooves thundering towards the farm. He runs outside, and he literally cannot believe what he's seeing. It's their horse. And he's not alone. He's leading a whole herd of 5 absolutely magnificent wild horses right back to their home. The son's despair just vanishes, replaced by pure elation. He's on top of the world. And what about the villagers? The same ones who were just calling the farmer a fool are now tripping over themselves to call him the luckiest man in the world. Their judgment just swings wildly from one pole to the other. And the farmer? He just gives a small smile and offers that same quiet caution. He gets it. He understands that this moment of incredible fortune, just like the moment of terrible loss, is just one frame in a much larger movie. He's reminding his son to stay balanced. Well, the son, he's so excited, he can't wait. The very next day, he tries to tame one of the wild horses. But this animal is powerful, and it throws him hard. There's this awful crack. His leg is badly broken. So now the son is lying there in agony. And it's not just physical pain. He's starting to doubt his father's whole philosophy. And the villagers? Well, you can guess what they're saying. See, those horses were a curse. The farmer got greedy, and now look what happened. Their opinions are just as fickle as the weather. The farmer sits with his son, as calm as ever. And he offers this beautiful thought, this analogy. The same rain that floods the valley nourishes the forest. Do not judge this moment either. He's saying, even this terrible pain, we don't know its ultimate purpose. Okay, let's just pause here and look at this. I mean, what an emotional roller coaster for the son, right? First, total devastation when the horse is gone. Then, this unbelievable stroke of luck. And now, a painful, crippling injury. Each one of these moments feels like the end of the story, but it's not even close. Just 2 weeks go by. Suddenly, the whole village hears drums and trumpets. The king's soldiers are riding in. And as they unroll a royal scroll, a wave of absolute dread washes over every single family. The news is just horrifying. A brutal war has started, and every single able-bodied young man is being drafted into the army. On the spot. No excuses, no exceptions. You can hear mothers start to cry as their sons, kids who've only ever worked a farm, are being led away to fight.
And then the soldiers get to the farmer's house. They walk in, they see the son lying there, his leg all wrapped up in splints, and they just shake their heads and walk out. "This one is of no use to us," they say. And just like that, the son's horrible injury, the very thing that felt like a curse, has just saved his life.
Well, months drag on. The war is terrible. Of the 23 young men that were taken from that small village, only 9 ever came home. 14 of them died. All those families who had pitied and mocked the farmer are now just lost in their grief, while his son is safe, alive, and healing.
And in that moment, it all finally clicks for the son. He looks at his father, and you can just hear the emotion in his voice as he says it. "You were right all along, Father. Every time I thought the world was ending, it was actually beginning." He finally sees the whole tapestry, how every single event, good and bad, was woven together in a pattern he never could have seen. So, what's the big takeaway for us? Well, the farmer's wisdom really comes down to these 3 pillars. First, just stop labeling everything good or bad the second it happens. Second, trust the process. Trust that life knows what it's doing, even when you don't. And third, find your balance. Don't get too high in the good times or too low in the bad. At the end of the day, the story is telling us that life isn't a straight, predictable line. It's a river. It has twists and turns, and we can only see the little bend that we're on right now. What feels like a destructive flood today could be the very thing that makes the fields of our future fertile. Which brings us right back where we started, back to you. So I'll ask you one last time. What was your broken leg? What was that failure, that heartbreak, that moment of loss in your own life that, when you look back now, you realize it was a blessing? It might have been the very thing that saved you.